Task number 8, 2.1. WPScan mode. This task is part of the web enumeration module, which is a prerequisite of upload vulnerabilities, which is part of complete beginner path that we are following. We briefly discussed the various things that WPScan is capable of discovering on a system running WordPress in task number 7. However, let's dive into this a bit further, demonstrate a few examples of the various scans used to retrieve this information and highlighting how these scans work exactly. Enumerating for installed themes. Here you can see basically if we go in the developers console in the network tab, we can actually see the directory from the server where the theme is installed by default on WordPress. WP content themes 2021 assets.js responsive embeds.js, right? Only by highlighting this file we can see the theme. WPScan has a few methods of determining the active theme on a running WordPress installation. At a premise, it boils down to a technique that we can manually do ourselves. Simply, we can look at the assets our web browser loads and then look for the location of these on the web server. Using the network tab in your web browser developer tools, you can see what files are loaded when you visit a web page. Basically what we saw. Take the screenshot below. We can see many assets are loaded. Some of these will be scripts and the styling of the theme that determines how the browser renders the website. Highlighted in the screenshot below is the URL. Okay, so we discussed this snapshot. Here we can see actually we are inside the file. We can take a pretty good guess that the name of the current theme is 2021. After inspecting the source code of the website, we can note additional references to 2021. Actually, we have here a script with the ID 2021. Another tell here in the source for the following HTTP with an IP that is basically not displayed. We can see the same location of the 2021 theme inside WP content. Cool. Here again, we see an ID of 2021. However, let's use WPScan to speed this process up by using the -- enumerate flag with the T argument like so. WPScan -- URL with the following and then enumerate with WT. Before we do that, we'll say WPScan and actually help. As you can see, we can also use the short version. -- enumerate is the long version. We can use -E for the short version. And for option T means search for popular themes. After a couple of minutes, we can begin to see some results. And here we can see the 2020 theme used on this specific web URL or website. The great thing about WPScan is that the tool lets you know how it determined the result it has got. In this case, we're told that 2020 theme was confirmed by scanning known locations. Found by known locations, aggressive detection, HTTP, and here actually it tells you the endpoint. 2020 theme is the default WordPress theme for WordPress version 2020. Enumerating for installed plugins, a very common feature of web servers in directory listing and is often enabled by default. Simply, directory listing is the listing of files in the directory that we are navigating to, just as if we were to use Windows Explorer or Linux list command. URLs in this context are very similar to file paths. The following URL is actually the configured root of the web server A directory. Here you can see the web root. Directory listing occurs when there is no file present that the web server has not told to process. A very common file is index.html. Yes, that's by default the default HTML file, and index.php. As these files aren't present in the root directory, the contents are instead displayed, right? Here we can see directory listing is present for the root directory. WPScan can leverage this feature as one technique to look for plugins installed, since they will all be located in WP content plugins plugin name. WPScan can enumerate for common known plugins. In the screenshot below, Easy Table of Contents has been discovered. Great. This could be vulnerable. To determine that, we need to know the version number. Luckily, this handed to us on a plate by WordPress. Easy Table of Contents, we have the location. And here we have the readme.txt. Now, here again, we see the same location, Easy Table of Contents, and we have version 2.0.16 with a 100% confidence. Reading through WordPress developer documentation, we can learn about plugin readmes. To figure out how WPScan determines the version number, simply plugin must have a readme.txt files. This file contains meta information such as the plugin name, the version of the WordPress it is compatible with, and a description. And here we see an example of a README file from which WPScan takes the version. And here we see for the plugin name, basically we can see requires at least version 5.1 of WordPress, was tested up to 5.2, requires PHP 7.2 and stable tag 7.3. An example readme w. Yeah, here we have an example of a readme.txt file. The one displayed on the TryHackMe snapshot is exactly from here, which is from the developer WordPress org official website. WPScan uses additional methods to discover plugins, such as looking for references or embeds on pages for plugin assets. We can use the enumerate flag with a P argument like so. P is for popular plugins. As you remember, T was for themes. This one is for popular plugins. Enumerating for users. We've highlighted that WPScan is capable of performing brute forcing attacks. While this we must provide a password list such as roku.txt, the way how WPScan enumerates for the user is interestingly simple. WordPress sites use authors for posts. Authors are in fact a type of a user. Here we can see an example, right? And sure enough, this author is picked up by our WPScan, as you can see. This scan was performed by using the enumerate flag with the U argument. You can see the entire command used. The vulnerable flag. In the command so far, we have only enumerated WordPress to discover what themes, plugins, and users are present. At the moment, we'd have to look at the output and use sites such as MyTryNVD and CVE details to look up to names of these plugins and the version names to determine any vulnerabilities. WPScan has the V argument for the -- enumerate flag. To provide this argument alongside another, such as a P for plugins. For example, our syntax would be like WPScan -URL, insert the URL, -enumerate, and here we can see two arguments, one after another, vulnerability and plugins. Note that this requires setting up WPScan to use the WP Vulnerability Database API, which is out of scope for this room. We have this URL, WPScan, the official website of the tool. Here you have to register yourself because after registration you will get an API that is used in order to discover vulnerabilities in plugins. Or you can do the manual work, as you can see here. Just visit MyTryNVD or CV details and just check out for yourself after you enumerate them. Here you can see in this snapshot no WP Vulnerability Database API token given. As a result, vulnerability data has not been outputted. You can get the free API token with 50 daily requests by registering to wpvulndb.com, and here it just gives you the URL. Performing a password attack. After determining a list of possible usernames on the WordPress install, we can use WPScan to perform a brute forcing technique against the username we specify and the password list that we provide. Simply, we use the output of our username enumeration to build the command like so. And here we can see the default, like the usual syntax that we've seen so far, but now we introduce -- password, and here we just provide the word list that you like, -- usernames for Symnetic. And here we can see performing password attack on, okay, just start, right? The start of the brute force. Adjusting WPScan aggressiveness, we have for WAF. Unless specified, WPScan will try to be at least noisy as possible. Lots of requests to a web server can trigger things such as firewalls and ultimately result in you being blocked by the server. This means that some plugins and themes may be missed by our WPScan. Luckily, we can use arguments such as -- plugins detection and an aggressiveness profile, passive aggressive, to specify this. For example, -- plugin detection to be aggressive or passive. Summary of cheat sheets. Here basically we see what we've seen already. P for enumerating plugins, and here we can also see the command. T for themes, enumerate themes, U for usernames. And V basically is use WP vulnerability database to cross-reference for vulnerabilities. -- enumerate WP. And aggressive mode, this is an aggressive profile for WPScan to use for plugins detection. Answer the questions below. What would be the full URL for the theme 2020 installed on a WordPress site like this? Okay, let's copy this first of all. And then here we'll say /WP contents, WP themes, and 2019. Let's see if we... All right. What argument would we provide to enumerate a WordPress site? Enumerate. What is the name of the other aggressiveness profile that we can use in our... It's not aggressive. Basically, it's passive. Cool.